Good morning, everyone. This is our climate project for the course project. And I picked a local community in the villages in which I work as a first responder. So they're known for building and building and building and just really nonstop, buying all the farmland that they can and everything like that. So my focus is to present this to them and still provide them with the option to build, but do it in a greener, more sustainable way. So first, let's talk about climate change and exactly what it is. And as you can see, it is a long-term shift in temperature and weather patterns. So that weather patterns, it means with the warmer water, there comes hurricanes and many other things. The most important thing that we notice is a lack of knowledge. Really, everybody hears the word climate change, but they think it's just a bunch of hoopla and don't really take it seriously as they should. Some of the major impacts of urbanization, which we are seeing in the villages, there's a lot of poor sanitation. You see a lot of dirty areas on the areas that are of lesser income areas. Some health-related conditions, we'll get more into that, with respiratory issues, including COPD and asthma, which are two major things that you see in the people of the villages. And habitat loss. With any construction, there comes habitat loss and the risk of increased risk of extinction, vulnerability, and other factors like that. So some forcing agents. Of course, we're going to focus on our plastic and everything like that, but a lot of the stuff is from the building sector. So the building environment and construction and materials, transportation, a lot of factors in the building process go into the increased emissions of greenhouse gases. So oil and natural gas use for construction is a really big emitter of CO2, and as you can see the chart on the left, it goes into that quite a lot of diesel trucks are used to transport these materials, which is releases the aerosols and the soot in the air, and as you can see the percentage below that. Some other forcing agents that we focus on are the plastics. A lot of people don't recycle in the villages. Really, nobody I see recycles in the villages. They don't even use trash cans. So it's really something that needs to be focused on, because we're just releasing all of these cancerous materials into the air. There's soot being released from the burning plastic, which is contributing to the greenhouse accumulation in the atmosphere. And also, as you can see, the dioxins and the phthalates, I'm so sorry if I mispronounced that, which gives the plastic their characteristics, and like the second one I named was, it gives it their flexibility, and all of that kind of stuff is terrible for us to breathe in, and it is into our atmosphere. As you see on the right, we go over positive and negative feedback. So the positive feedbacks is going to be something that amplifies your CO2 emissions and the warming of the atmosphere. So building construction and the burning of the plastic is going to be massive amplifiers for that. Some negative feedbacks are going to be plastic recycling and understanding which plastics are accepted and what to do with the ones that aren't. So a lot of the recycle buildings will not be able to recycle certain things. There's a number of different types of plastic, and you also want to focus on reuse before you go and recycle. And you want to clean your products before you recycle, because they may have like that leftover residue. Rinse out any shampoo bottles, anything like that. So your number threes are going to be window cleaners. These are the ones that can't be to a normal. Your ones and your twos, which are your plastic water bottles and everything simple like that, are going to be higher up, are going to be accepted more frequently. Your number threes are window cleaners, shower curtains, PVC and vinyl and other things like that. 6 is your styrofoam, and number 7 is your plastic bottles, plastic baby bottles, your water jugs, and plastic cutlery. So things like that aren't going to be accepted, and they're just going to be shipped off to be burnt anyway. So you want to make sure that you know what you're recycling and what can be recycled and what can't. So let's dive into the climate history. This was very interesting for me to learn. I didn't know that there was so many different, when you think of massive climate or historical changes, you just automatically think of dinosaurs and the asteroid that came through. So I found out about the medieval warming period, which was during between 750 and 1350. So this was an increase of temperatures, which was found to be higher than what we have recorded recently. It's known to be from the redistribution of heat around the planet due to El Nino. And it also, with this factor, suggests other factors other than greenhouse gases. And then the second historical event would be the Little Ice Age. There was two phases in this. One was more severe than the other. So the first phase was 1290 to 1400. There was a warm period in between 1500, and then from 1645 to 1715, there was a severe cold, which is where the name Little Ice Age came from. And this is the coldest period, so there was the Baltic Sea froze over, and then there was what we call pack ice, which is just massive sheets of ice that don't allow for any type of transportation over water. And due to this lack of transportation, it diminished the trade in between certain areas of the world. Really that northern hemisphere area of the world. And it also led to widespread crop failure and population decline due to starvation and poverty. Because of the freeze, it killed a lot of crops, and due to starvation, that caused the population decline and famine and everything like that. Looking at the history, so this is Bushnell. This is actually where I live. It's a town just south of the Villages. I wasn't able to obtain the historical 100-year of the Villages because Villages hasn't really been established for 100 years. But since about 1990, the planet overall has warmed about 2 degrees. And with this comes changes in rainfall and snow coverage. I know we don't have snow coverage in Florida, but really everybody up north is going to see a decrease in the snow coverage. We've been seeing it stay warmer later and get warmer earlier in those winter and to summer/spring seasons. So even though we don't have snow coverage, there is a massive increase of rainfall and a significant temperature increase. I have noticed that this has to be one of the hottest summers we have ever experienced. And along with all the prices going up, AC is just increasing, and that increases the amount of energy into the atmosphere, and it makes it very hard for people to try and be sustainable and stay green. There's many habitat changes with the temperature increase because some animals are not able to adapt, and while some may thrive in a hotter atmosphere, others don't. So they will either become vulnerable, on the edge of extinction, endangered, and everything like that. So we really need to take into account how we are affecting these animals. So some of the regional impacts is going to be especially in Florida. There's a massive destruction of housing happening due to flooding and erosion due to the increase of sea levels. And the increase of sea levels is due to the ice melting in those northern hemisphere areas. I've noticed in the Villages alone that with the increased rain that we're experiencing, it is a massive sinkhole area. I run on them all the time as a first responder, and everyone is very worried about it. And with the increase of rainfall, we notice here in Florida that all the runoff from the nutrient cycle and everything like that goes into the waters and causes the algal blooms. The algal blooms are massive here in Florida, especially down on our West Coast beaches. We have the red tide year-round and many other issues like that. Some other regional impacts are going to be the building impacts. So this in the increased housing requirements. So with everybody moving to Florida, because nobody wants to be in the snow anymore, everybody wants to retire and move to Florida, and Villages is a retirement community, but this is destroying our farmlands, increasing our property taxes and land taxes. Our property values are going through the roof. It's absolutely impossible for anybody of a normal job status to buy a house and actually live properly. And I know that is worldwide, but everybody's moving to Florida, so it makes it 20 times worse. So if we keep increasing our property values and the land taxes, it's making it close to impossible for our farmers to maintain and survive. And if we lose the farming industry, we should expect many impacts as well as direct and indirect jobs, and also an increase of prices in the meat and produce because we're going to have to do exports and get them in from outside communities. Some socioeconomic impacts. It's important to understand the chain of events which lead to greater impacts across the board. There's a decrease with warmer temperatures, pollution, and everything like that. There's going to be a decrease in water availability, a lower crop yield due to the increase of heat and not being able to survive. And with this heat and humidity, pests and disease just thrive in it. It is kind of gross, to be completely honest. But with the pests and disease, they can really impact the livestock productivity. And with an increase in temperature, it can also create a more extreme storm events such as hurricane floods and droughts. And we actually have a hurricane en route to our state right now here in Florida. And a lot of us who are educated enough to understand how the warmer waters impact the environment, especially me going through this class, I've learned a lot from it that it's very risky and we need to be very prepared for anything. So some possible mitigations that we can control is to promote your local food sources. It's going to promote food safety, really help farmers in their lands, stimulate a variety of different foods. This food is never frozen, which is even better for health-wise for everybody. And I noticed that villagers are massive on sociability and interactions and everything like that. And if you have a rural but local community farm, this is going to increase their interactions like tenfold, and people are going to love it. It creates more jobs in the community, and it's also found to increase the fruit and veggie intake of people who actually shop there. Another action that we could do is use of energy efficient appliances. So you can, this will replace your fossil fuel burning and also save the residents money and be able to conserve water while also decreasing your greenhouse gases. Some things that you can do is to wash on the cold cycle to decrease the use of your water heater, and also use LED light bulbs because they're going to be the most energy efficient, use 75% less energy, and last about 10 times longer. So some of the future outcomes of the area, if these actions aren't taken into account, there's going to be everything that I've named that's already going on is just going to be increase. Decrease of human health, decrease of livestock and agricultural productivity, and the increase of temperature may help plants that, lost my place. So the winter seasons, the warmer temps may help some plants as they are supposed to thrive in the winter, but not like northern winters. So any of our citrus and other vegetables like that, our summer seasons, our crop yield is just going to drop tremendously from products like sugar and corn and peanuts, which, I mean, to me, I eat all those on the daily. And also with the decrease in livestock productivity due to the heat and persistent diseases with the increased heat. You're also going to see a lot of more heat strokes, and we're already seeing them. I run them all the time in the villages on the golfers. We want to be able to decrease the heat in the summer because that is prime golfing time. A lot of people don't want to be out in the cold because when you get older, your bones tense up in the cold and it's just a lot more difficult. And also with the heat stroke, it can cause more cardiovascular and more neurological issues. We want to be able to provide a good environment for our villagers for many years to come, not just the ones that are here now. So some conclusions, we're going to go ahead and get ahead of the temperature change. And it's very difficult, but there are many little things that we can do to start that process. We're going to investigate how building and construction materials can be changed to be a greener process and promote those local food sources as well to increase the health of the villages, health of the villagers, and promote our farmers and everything like that. We have to be able, in order to make all these happen, we have to be able to understand the impacts of construction on the farmland and the atmosphere and develop these possible mitigation strategies and actually put them into action to save the villages. And that'll be the end. Thank you very much.